agenda item, and that item is on Sasol Gas Pty Ltd, his application to construct a gas distribution facility in the Al Road area of a Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality in the Gauteng province. On that note, Mr. Numalo, may I request that you guide the meeting on this particular item, and as well as inform us as to who is going to be leading us if it's not you. Over to you, Mr. Numalo.
Thank you, Chairperson. As you indicated, the item really relates to an application by Sasol Gas for construction of a distribution facility. I will introduce it quickly in the interest of time. What we are presenting before the committee is basically an application by Sasol Gas to construct the distribution facility of about 7 meters, together with the customer meter station. We must emphasize, Chairperson, that this is going to be constructed in an area that Sasol Gas currently has distribution exclusivity. And therefore, they've got the right to basically, grant if they want to, or deny permission to any stakeholder that wants to come and play within that space. Chairperson, the contributions that have been made, respectively, by Sasol Gas and this customer are reflected in the submission on page 8 and 9. And I think it's also important, Chairperson, to indicate that just to give the members a sense of the position on both sides with regard to what Sasol Gas has said with regard to the construction and ownership of this distribution facility. We've indicated that on pages 413, on paragraphs 413 rather, in paragraphs 414, we've given that indication of what each party has said with regard to the issue of construction and ownership of the facility. Chairperson, on page 2, we've also indicated the issues that were raised by members during the pre-hearing and how those issues were responded to. And lastly, to give members just the benefit of a sense of what Sasol Gas has said with regard to this matter. We've given a summary of deliberations that we held with Sasol Gas on this particular matter, around the ownership of assets that they construct on behalf of their customers. That meeting was held on the 3rd of July, and on table 1 on page 10, we've given that indication to members as to what was discussed and what Sasol Gas' position was out of the meeting. Chairperson, in terms of the recommendations quickly, those are on page 14. And basically, it's for approval of the license application, as well as the reasons for decision and the draft license conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Numalo. I don't know if from any of your team there's anyone who wants to add anything by show of hand. If there is nothing, may I then take questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancements from members? Members, over to you. I do not see any hand from the members, but maybe from my side there is just one or two point of clarity and a point of enhancement. I think under paragraph 4.3, where we are talking about the fact that the application was declared first as being inadequate, maybe we could have given a date to say as to when did we make that assessments of inadequacy, because we then proceed to give an indication of what was deemed to be outstanding in the application and the date thereof, but we do not give a date of when did we declare the application inadequate. And I think the other point of clarity that I had, maybe I may be missing the point in the submission, is that this issue of Sasol having exclusivity within the area mentioned in the application, our road, I thought it was for 25 years, and I just wanted to find out if that 25 years has not passed, and if it has, if I can be given clarity as why. Have we allowed it to progress beyond the 25 years? It may be covered in the submission. I've read somewhere where there was an explanation, but it wasn't very clear to me as it was raised by one of the parties involved in the application. Thank you. I see Mr. Mkiza's hand is up. Mr. Mkiza, you may come in.
Thanks, Chairperson. It's low in raising of the hand. I'd just like to thank Mr. Umar and the team for factoring all the issues raised during the pre-hearing meeting. Hence, no questions really, but save to highlight the need to then ensure that when it comes to the amendment of the Gas Act and other related pieces of legislation, the team just needs to make sure that whatever comes out of these kind of applications can be relayed so that those can be factored into those amendments, just to highlight the importance of doing that, because to sit with something for a long time that you are not necessarily comfortable with is not it's not desirable. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Mr. Ngumane?
Thank you, Chairperson. And I think we do, we've noted the inputs that my members have provided. Just to comment quickly on the two issues of clarity that you've raised. The application was first received in December. And I think as an enhancement, we can just indicate in the submission that the exact date at which we issued the notice or the assessment of inadequacy. But in February, we then received that outstanding information. That is why the official date of the application is actually in February. With regard to the period of exclusivity, it is still current because it is correct, as you said, that the exclusivity is actually for the duration of the license, which is 25 years. And that period is still persisting. Proceeding to Mr. Mkiza's issue, I think we'll just factor in the issues that we are currently discussing. You are quite correct that as an update, we must just keep feeding back into the policymaker on the issues that I imagine as we encounter challenges and issues that come up as we regulate. So that will be done as part of that feedback loop into the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. And I think that those are the inputs we can provide. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ngumane. I see Ms. Masiti's hand is up. Ma'am, you may come in.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to indicate that the issues that appear here that seem to be a challenge here are already under consideration as part of the proposed amendments that were before the PGS and were submitted to Parliament as part of the amendments to the bill. they emanate from the fact that distribution pipelines are exclusive without third-party access. So that is the issue that is being dealt with, and that's why it's causing this other party to request the other player to build the infrastructure on its behalf, because it cannot operate in that distribution area that is already licensed to this party. So the party uses that to then, for all customers that are found by others, it uses that so that they can go through it. Otherwise, if they don't do that, they claim their exclusivity. And that's why we insisted that this thing blocks other players from getting into the market. Therefore, third-party access must be allowed. And that's what the department has included in the bill. And now that is before. There's no exclusivity when it comes to trading. They would have come and traded, but they have to trade over the line, which is the line that must be built. And it has to be owned by the party that has exclusive right over that line, over the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Masiti. The input is noted, but I think then we need to probably enhance paragraph 4.15 on page 7, where it said that the current amendment bill still allows exclusivity for gas. And maybe if we can look into that particular input and see if we still need to make further amendments and then submit our input. On that note, members, having noted that the issues that were raised during the pre-hearing session have been addressed by management in table 2 on page 8 to 9. If there are no further questions or input for the team. Oh, I see Mr. Mkiza's hand is up. Sorry, Mr. Mkiza, I'm looking down at my submission. You may come in, sir.
Thanks, Chairperson. And sorry, I don't want to delay this meeting. All I just want to say is that since it's in the public domain, I don't want a situation where it's like one is against, it's a blanket anti-exclusivity stance at the same time. And I was saying that because the bill was sent back for review, maybe if I can use that term. Hence, I'm stating that whatever concerns need to be raised, because they must be debated, and all of us, we understand that when it comes to policy, you don't necessarily end up with a particular stance, because we need to consider counter arguments and come up with something that could be middle of the road. All I'm saying was that it shouldn't be seen as if we're now in a discussion concerning that policy stance. All I was just saying is just to advance that even in the review stage, because exclusivity for on its own may not necessarily be something that one is against, but it's the conditions around it, on all the other matters, nuances that pertain to exclusivity. So even in the crafting of the submission as it stands, I thought that for me, it should not be so much of taking a stance, but we just highlight the matter being put forth in the amendment of the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkize, for the guidance. I think the team has noted your input. And may I then request members that we move on to the recommendations, which are on paragraph 14 of page 14 of 51. And the recommendation that based on the available information and the analysis made, it is recommended that the REC approve the following. A, the application by Sasol for a license to construct a gas distribution facility in the Al Road area of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality in Gauteng. And B, approve the attached decision and reasons for decision attach here too as annexure 1, and as well as approve the attached draft license condition, which is attached here too as annexure 3. By show of hand, members, can I get an indication that you do approve the recommendations as stated in paragraph 14? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Thank you, Ms. Massetti. I also support.
I thought we're approving subject to the correction you pointed out on paragraph 14, paragraph 4.15 B. Okay. On that issue of exclusivity, because to amend it slightly and also show the third-party access with that input. Otherwise, the way it is, it's like we are against exclusivity.
Okay, thanks for the assistance, Ms. Massetti. Ms. Hatting, then we will approve the recommendation subject to those comments made on the issue of exclusivity. I think Ms. Massetti has assisted in constructing that. Thank you so much, Ms. Massetti, and thank you, members. May I then request, we have come to the end of our open session of our meeting 353. Let me thank members of management, support staff, and as well as our stakeholders who have joined us for this particular meeting. We've come to the end of the open session. May I then request that Mr. Mateja indicate to me